very old.
You can feel them break loose.
Yeah.
If you love classic cars, then Donald loves you.
Please make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn on your notifications, so that way you won't miss any of our widely varied video programs, including those with me and my friend Jay Leno. Also, follow us on Instagram at Audrain Auto Museum and Audrain Motorsport.
So we're out here on the road, Jay, in the CLK Black. The whole purpose of the Black Series is to deliver track day performance to the street. What are your first impressions?
Well, you know what's interesting? People always say, and you get this question, if you could only have one car,
Right.
okay, what was the car you'd have? And they expect you to say the McLaren F1. But if you can only have one car, that means you have to use it to go to the market, to pick up some stuff at Home Depot, to run errands, to go to the airport, and to be so not outrageous looking that people feel they have to somehow it draws such attention, you know what I mean, that it becomes an object of desire and people are still. So I would say I have a 2002 AMG E55.
Mm-hmm.
It's V8, has 350 horsepower. It handles, it's fast, it can handle 4 people, and it looks to the average person, oh, that's a nice Mercedes.
Yeah.
Nothing special about it, but in a sense, it's probably the lesser generation of this, but it's the perfect car because you can do anything with it. It serves all purposes. So if you only have one car, I would choose that because you have the prestige of Mercedes. You got, within limits, the handling and sports car feel of a Porsche. You have the, the room of a good 4-door sedan, plus air conditioning and all the other things you'd want on a
all
trip.
things you need on a
So I think these are just fabulous. I'm anxious to drive the DTM model, which we'll do next. I probably would prefer this because 80% of my driving is really just beep honk, just stupid traffic and getting around. It's amazing. This is what, 2006?
2008.
Oh, 2008. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing how long ago 2008 is.
I hate to think about that because I always think of 2008 as yesterday.
Right.
And,
it's like Thursday to me too, but it's strange. This feels like what in America would be the equivalent back in the 60s of getting Pearson's Ford or Richard Petty's Hemi, a Charger or whatever, stiff suspension, plenty of horsepower, crisp shifting transmission.
Well, what I find interesting about these whole these CLK series is the fact that they are sort of an AMG Mercedes muscle car because they take the biggest engine and putting in the smallest body that Mercedes has.
Right.
These cars came out of the development that AMG did for the safety cars in F1. So, you see Bernd Mailänder and all those people driving around in those wonderful CLKs right ahead of the Formula One cars, and sort of, here we are. I don't think that they had quite as much plush leather and air conditioning and all that in the safety car, but,
And although this engine is only a 6.2 liter, they call it a 6.3 because in Germany, 6.3 is the same as the magic numbers 427 here or 426 Hemi.
Exactly.
It conjures up. It's one of my favorite engines. I have a 68 6.3 Mercedes sedan, which was the first time the big V8 was put into a sedan. All big Mercedes were 6 cylinders, which seemed fine until they're competing against America with their giant V8s and 500 cubic inch Cadillac, so they feel, well, we have to have something with that equal amount of power.
And the 300 SEL 6.3 is just a legendary car. I mean, they race them.
Yeah, very fast.
And
I drive mine. It's only 250 horsepower, but it's a torque monster.
Yeah.
And it pulls really hard. And parts of that car are in this car. It's that legend of when Germans hear 6.3, or that it conjures an image of horsepower, all based off of that car. So it's fun to see that nomenclature, is that the word? Yeah,
absolutely.
Still being used today. The history goes back 50, 60 years.
The other thing which is interesting about this car is you're talking about the sort of dual purpose nature of a performance car for the street. Now, they make the point that all the Black Series cars are two-seaters, so they've taken out the rear
Right.
seat. Now, ostensibly for weight savings, but I also think that it's sort of a psychological thing. You know, you're driving a two-seater car, so it's not the practical car.
Well, it seems funny to me because if you really want to save weight, get rid of the giant electric motor under each seat. You know, my buttocks are not so big I can't move them myself, you know? So I don't, because really, when you have a car like this, you set the seat the day you get it, and it stays there for the rest
Right.
of its life. You don't move that electric seat at all. So why Mercedes always feel they have to do that? I would save weight I would keep the back seat and get rid of the electric motors. But I think there's a certain Mercedes-ness that's expected, you know.
Which is funny too, because you think about what constitutes Mercedes-ness. You talked about the great sedans and of the 1960s, and they were by any stretch of the imagination.
Boy, this thing, these tires are old.
Tires are very old.
You can feel them break loose.
Yes, and it's cold.
Yeah.
You know, the great Mercedes sedans in the 1960s, as you've often said, were very Spartan, especially compared to their American counterparts. You know, Cadillacs with power windows and automatic transmissions and all this. And I remember reading that the great Rudolf Uhlenhaut, the Mercedes development engineer, when somebody asked why there weren't power windows in the Pagoda SLs, and he said, you know, if you can't reach across the car and roll up the window yourself, then perhaps you shouldn't be driving a Mercedes.
Right. Yeah.
But it's always also an interesting thing to consider these sort of high-performance street track day cars, because they are by nature a compromise, and so the question becomes, how well do they do
Right.
their job on the street? You know, do they feel like they want to go in a way that is not really compatible with sort of everyday driving?
Well, if I was blindfolded in the passenger seat, I might think I was driving a Porsche, you know, like the RS or one of the twin turbo models, because everything feels crisp and tight. That's the thing that's really cool about this. There's no rattling dashboard. There's no hoods shake or scuttle. It does. You know, you go over a bump, you don't feel it. You don't feel it go through the chassis, as they say. You know, and it's fun because a number of years ago I visited the AMG factory, and I was amazed at how small and intimate it was. I mean, it was fairly quiet, and there was you know, Hans and all the guys, and each guy was building an engine and putting his name on it. And they invite you, oh, would you like to put a piston in? Okay, and they give you the ring compressor, and you do the whole thing, you know.
And hopefully in a car that you've ordered, so that you're not putting
Right.
range to somebody else's car.
But it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting. It was really equivalent of being asked to go to Ed Iskandarian's shop and install a camshaft, you know.
Right.
I mean, it is a wonderful driving car. I almost wonder if the DTM might be too harsh for the road, because this feels just about right. This is a nice blend of, you know, I have a lot of cars where Mario goes, ow, my hair, you know, because things blow in the window, you know, the roof doesn't go all the way down, whatever it is, you know. And this is none of that. I don't get any. I couldn't see someone objecting to this, you know, because you could drive this as you might a normal Mercedes. And I like the size of the steering wheel. I like the shape of the steering wheel.
It is also interesting that I've got a 1999 SLK, and I've had a 2005 E500 wagon, and you know, it's very, very familiar.
Right.
All of this, and as you said, it feels like you're definitely in a Mercedes. It's interesting that the Mercedes of this period don't have the same reputation that the Mercedes of the 80s had.
Which way? Right.
Well, that sort of bank vault thing. A lot of people feel that during the Daimler Chrysler era, that Mercedes were for the first time sort of designed to a price rather than being built just to a standard.
Right.
But I think that, especially in these specialty models, you really feel the Mercedes of old.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think
great attention to detail.
That's more than fair. I love the fact that it's, although not truly a totally analog car, certainly more analog than anything you can get today. I mean, by that I mean you get in it and everything is immediately understandable.
Yes, you don't have to read 14 pages in read 14 pages in manual or step through tutorial.
I was driving a car the other day, the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Beautiful thing, but as I pick it up at the airport and I'm driving, I couldn't. I had to pull over to play the radio. I had to get the book out. Okay, how do I find? Okay, where's the? Oh, I see. You know, are you happy with selection? Yes. Would you make it again? Yes, I would. How often would you make it? Very rare. You know, I mean, it's all these questions. It's just so annoying. Whereas this you get in, radio's on and off, all gauges in front of you. There's a clock right there. I know what time it is. There's my speedo. There's my, you know, it's all quite familiar.
It's a car that reveals itself at once. So, let me get behind the wheel and get my impressions.
All right.
Yeah, this feels immediately and very familiar. It's definitely Mercedes. The steering is really, really, really tight, you know? It's in that way, it feels much more...
Hydraulic or electric? Hydraulic, probably.
I think this is hydraulic. It doesn't have the electric feel.
Right. And I don't think you had electric in 2000.
2008?
Yeah.
Maybe it was just coming out. I think the Mini had electric power steering then. But this feels very... It feels much more modern than 2008 by the steering, you know? And you know, the other thing that I'm not really crazy about in a lot of modern high-performance cars is the feeling of isolation from the road.
Right.
And this actually gives you a nice feeling of the road. You actually feel the road through the steering wheel, and not in, you know, an annoying way.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me, there was, when I was a kid, I used to work at Foreign Motors in Boston, and we sold Rolls Royces. And Corniche had just come out. And there was an ad with a guy standing next to his Corniche convertible, and the woman's looking rather bemused, and the policeman's writing him a ticket, you know. And the idea of, getting a ticket in a Rolls Royce, it was supposed to be the sporty Corniche. You know? And this is really what that should have been.
Yeah.
This is the sporty version of the Mercedes. I mean, the Corniche was no more sporty, but because it was a convertible, and I don't know what
it was the vehicle of the raffish bachelor.
Right, exactly.
But you know, that's interesting that you mentioned that too, and thinking about what Bentley was doing in this period, when they were really sort of rediscovering the Bentley performance heritage.
Right.
And you know, taking a chassis that, you know, basically, you know, for Germans they're taxi cabs, and making it something that is really quite sporty indeed.
Right.
You know, it shows the range and capability, which is an interesting thing, as well as the fact that, you know, this is a car that feels perfectly comfortable on the street. This particular one is very low miles. It has 8,000 miles from new. Wow. And the tires are the original tires, unfortunately. So, you know, as you experienced, you can't really unleash the performance capability of this car without replacing the tires.
Yeah, and it shows you when you start with basically a good platform, you can make it do anything.
Yeah.
You can make it be a cushy luxury car. You can make it a good handling sports car. If you start with basically a quality platform, and that's what Mercedes always does.
And it's interesting too that I have some friends who are absolute devotees of the Black Series, and you know, sort of want to collect the set. And it's an interesting thing to think about the fact that, of course, the AMG cars are the performance cars of Mercedes-Benz, and the Black Series are the ultimate performance cars of the AMGs. It's also interesting thinking about the fact that a manufacturer, you know, Mercedes took an interest in AMG as a tuner, because they really admired what it was that they did and the way they worked. And so they said, you know, these are people we can work with. And it's also, I think, for a manufacturer, a good thing to have sort of an in-house tuner, because then you sort of cut off those people that are going to upstage your own product with
Right.
extra performance.
I would get annoyed by the black suit. I go, this is a black Mercedes. Yeah, but it's gray. No. That's the. You have to explain to every
Explain,
person you
exactly.
meet. Okay, I got a black Mercedes CL. Oh, I saw one there, but it was red. That's mine. I thought you said it was black. No, it's the black series. Yeah, but it's not. No, that's just the net. You know, it's so annoying. It's like, you know.
Yes, I have this Ralph Lauren purple label suit, but it's not purple.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I was working in Indianapolis in a club, and I was staying in like the condo they put you in, and way over there was like a shopping mall, and it said 1 hour cleaner, and I carried my suit all the way over there, and I gave it to the guy, you know, and I said, here you go. The guy go, okay, you take it. I said, can I pick it up about 4 o'clock? It's 4 o'clock. No, you can't pick it up till Thursday. I go, well, I got a show tonight. I said, but you're 1 hour cleaner. And the guy says to me, no, that's just the name. We can't clean it in an hour. I go, well, that's why I came here. I'm into town. I have a show 6 hours from now. It's no, that's just the name. So that's what I was thinking when I think of the Black Series.
Yeah, it is something that when you have to explain things.
Yeah, I want a red black Mercedes. A red and black. No, not two-tone. A red black. What?
And it's interesting too that the Black Series started with an SLK,
Right.
and then they branched out to the CLKs, and they built very few of these. I think there's about 400 of these coupes, and I think about 108 cabriolets.
Right.
And it was also an interesting thing because the concept of a track day convertible seems slightly iffy, because all the characteristics that you want in a car, because the first SL that they did, they actually fixed the retractable roof.
Yeah. So I think the SLR would have been more successful if it was an AMG Mercedes SLR.
Right.
Because when that came out, the trouble was a lot of people thought it was too much Mercedes and not enough McLaren. You know, and I mean, why do you need the electric seats and this, that, and you know? But it was a GT car.
Right.
But because it was a McLaren first. Oh,
there was an expectation.
More expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting point that perhaps back then Mercedes didn't really feel confident enough in their own performance reputation, because they had not really come out as a factory race team.
Right.
So they were still partnering with Sauber and with McLaren and.
Well, yeah, you know, you're talking about the era when people said, "Oh, if Porsche ever built an SUV, it'd be the end of their business."
Right.
You know, nobody would buy their sports cars. It would be a travesty if they. Well, that's how you stay in business, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, Ferrari's coming out with their SUV shortly.
Yeah.
So there you are.
That seems. Yeah, that does seem somehow. Yeah.
Enzo can't be happy. Thinking back to sort of the start of Mercedes. Back in the brass era, I think a car like this, in some ways, see if you agree with me or not, is more like those cars. They were sort of very high-performance touring cars. Would that make sense?
Well, I don't know if you can even. The concept of a high-performance car, you know, in those days, big engine, big car.
Right.
You don't forget when back in the 30s, they came out with the baby Duesenberg, the Cord, the idea of a personal-sized luxury car hadn't even been invented yet.
Right.
So people thought, oh, it's the baby Duesenberg. Why is it so small? Well, it's more, but look, that Packard is bigger and it's less money. People wanted more car for their money. You got a bigger engine, a bigger car.
Right.
You know, I mean, the idea of, when we were kids, the thing was, what, a Cadillac engine in something, 32 Ford,
right.
Chevy, it's just something
the big,
small.
big car power.
And it was like a crazy kid thing, you know.
Yeah.
Because the idea of I don't know, is anything you can compare it to, really, to that era.
Well, it's just sort of interesting. I think that manufacturers do themselves great value by delivering something that really speaks to all of their brand attributes. I think this car really does speak to all of Mercedes' brand attributes, you know, in a very, very clear way. So I think this certainly was the winner.
You've got to be careful, because the slightest deviation from who you are can just ruin it. You know, Packard was the quality car. Then they come out with the Packard 120. So you got Packard quality and Packard name at a cheaper price. So, well, he can afford a Packard, then then it just became a cheaper car. You know, that's kind of the problem. And when Mercedes has a reputation for safety and luxury and quality, now it's a racing car.
Exactly. It'll be very interesting for us to sample the DTM, because that is a really pure car.
So
we'll try that next.
Yeah.